But anyone who was already in line will still be able to cast their ballot. Thanks for joining us for this special Election Day coverage. I'm Shayna Humphreys.
And up to it's Friday. A number of communities had some important issues on the ballot, from mayoral races to city council and commission elections. And municipal and school district proposals are on there as well.
Of course, one race we are watching very closely is who will become Detroit's next mayor. City Council President Mary Sheffield and Reverend Solomon Kinlock both cast their ballots earlier today.
One of them hoping to replace Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan, who announced that he's going to be running for governor. Leading the city back from bankruptcy from the past 12 years is Mary Sheffield, and of course Solomon Kinlock also running.
CBS News Detroit is spread out all across Southeast Michigan, covering all of the races that matter to you.
And we begin with Alicia Bergio, who is live at MGM Grand in Detroit for City Council President Mary Sheffield's watch party. Alicia, what's the mood there?
Hey, Shayna, Terrence, as you can see here, the doors just opened here at MGM. Grand supporters, family, and team members of Council President Mary Sheffield packing the room. More and more people expected to roll in throughout the night, but you can already just feel the excitement here. Everyone we've talked to, confident that voters in Detroit will choose Sheffield to take that top spot as Detroit's next mayor. Now, our cameras, they were there earlier as Council President Sheffield went to cast her ballot. She tells us that she is prepared to take the city to the next level. Now, regardless of the outcome, this election will definitely be historical. You have one candidate at the top of the ticket, Reverend Solomon Kinlock, with no political experience as his background, hoping to be named Detroit's next mayor. And then you have City Council President Mary Sheffield with more than a decade of experience. Now, if she is elected, she will be the first woman in the city's history to be named mayor. And if voters sway in her direction for her leadership, Sheffield tells us that her main goal is to always put people first. With her background in city politics, Sheffield says that she is confident she is the person for the job.
I bring experience. I have a track record of getting things done, and that is what we need in this moment. We have made tremendous progress, and I think that it is okay to recognize that, yes, things have gotten better, that, yes, we have made progress, but also equally recognize that there's still far much more work to do. And that is why I am running for mayor, to finish the work that we've started.
Back here live now. We will be here all night long. The polls officially have closed, and as those numbers start to trickle in, we will of course keep you updated with those results. But for now, I'm going to send things back to you in studio and enjoy a little bit of this party. But for now, reporting live at MGM Grand Detroit Casino, Alicia Bergio, CBS News Detroit.
All right, I'm sure that crowd's going to get much bigger in the next hour or so. We'll come back to you. Thank you, Alicia.
And from Sheffield's camp to her opponent, the Reverend Solomon Kinlock Jr., the church leader and political newcomer, was the runner-up in the August primary.
Detroit's mayor is a nonpartisan position, but both of these candidates are registered Democrats. CBS News Detroit's Elaine Rojas Castillo joins us live now from the Garden Theater in Detroit with the latest from the Kinlock campaign.
Well, Shayna and Terrence, things right now are just starting to get a little bit more exciting. The Kinlock campaign has actually booked food trucks for their supporters, so a lot of them are outside getting what they need before taking up this incredible party that's set to really kick off in the next few minutes. Now, as you both mentioned, polls have officially closed, and the Kinlock campaign is hopeful and ready for whatever comes their way. We did have the chance to speak with the candidate yesterday as he did his final canvassing efforts across the city. One of the biggest things he wanted to do was reach voters where they were. He stopped by a grocery store on Detroit's east side to see how people were navigating not getting their SNAP benefits at the start of the month. On top of that, he wants to address a lot of the issues that those supporters told him, including wanting affordable housing, as well as finding a way to better support their families. Now, as we reach this critical point in Detroit's future, Kinlock says that he hopes that if he is elected, he wants to maintain an open line of communication with voters, the same type of connection that he already has with his parishioners.
I got in the race because I believe, if nothing else happened, that I would want my presence to inspire other people, not to let other people write their narrative, but for us to stand up and take control of our own destiny.
that inspiration is what's feeding the energy here at the Garden Theater in Midtown. And what I've been hearing from voters as they're trickling in is this feeling of hope. So as the night progresses, we'll be here live, making sure that we get those numbers as they come in and see how this party all turns out. But for now, reporting live at the Garden Theater in Midtown, Elaine Rojas Castillo, CBS News Detroit.
All right, they're both hoping to make an impact. Elaine, thank you.
All right, so after the election comes the transition process.
Yeah, so what happens next? Let's bring in our Terrell Bailey, who joins us in studio with a look at what's ahead.
All right, thank you guys. So we know voters are choosing their next mayor in the city of Detroit. That term is for 4 years, and there are over 600,000 citizens in the city of Detroit. So what does that procedure look like after today's election? I know some people are probably saying, well, how can we have a mayor and a city council president? Let's break things down for you all. So first things first, Mayor Mike Duggan's term does not expire until January the 1st. So whatever happens today, whether Sheffield wins or Kinlock, Duggan will still be the mayor of Detroit until January the 1st. Council President Sheffield, her term also expires on January the 1st. She will remain the city council president even if she wins today. Her title would then just become mayor-elect. Same with Kinlock as well. Now, whoever wins today, they'll be sworn in January, and that candidate would go before a U.S. judge and officially accept the position for the mayor of the city of Detroit. So what does this mean for city council? Okay, we know there are multiple city council seats up for grabs in Detroit today, including District 5, which is Mary Sheffield's current district. So the newly elected city council, they would also be sworn in at the start of the year. Then they will come together in the beginning of January after being sworn in and hold a vote to see who can be the next city council president. The first vote the body takes in January is to overall elect their leadership. Now, some members I've heard that are currently on city council running for re-election have already started putting out those feelers to see if they can drum up enough support to become the next city council president for the city of Detroit. Meantime, though, Sheffield, she's currently in the race for mayor. There is also a city council race, like I mentioned, for her seat. You have Renata Miller and Willie Burton, both hoping to represent District 5 for Detroit's city council. Burton is currently on the Detroit Police Commissioners Board representing District 5, but his term, like Duggan's and Sheffield's, ultimately will end on January the 1st.
All right, going to be an interesting few weeks after tonight. Thank you, Terrell.
Yeah.
Let's bring in political analyst Aaron Call, now director of debate with the University of Michigan, to break down the Detroit mayoral race. And as we've been discussing, there is a clear front runner here in Mary Sheffield and an underdog in Solomon Kinlock. But let's say he does pull off the upset. Whether it's Kinlock or Sheffield, what are some of the strengths that each might come into office with and some of the challenges?
Yes, a lot of challenges to follow in the footsteps of Mayor Duggan after the successful 12 years. And you have two totally different candidates, one that's been in politics for a long time, a lot of experience, a lot of relationships, and that can be good when you have to pass budgets and reach across the aisle and have a good temperament. But sometimes, for Solomon Kinlock being an outsider, he's made some good points that, well, why haven't things improved even more? What exactly have you done in this amount of time? So bringing in someone without political experience, someone with outside the box thinking, someone with very good oration skills and very passionate, that could be positive to bring fresh ideas to the table. But sometimes having that political experience kind of helps you break through the inertia and the bureaucracy, and so you kind of may want an insider. But when we see the results tonight, that'll really let you think about what the minds of the voters are. Do they want someone with that more experience to get things done, or if they're kind of fed up with politics as usual, they want to go outside the box and get somebody to really break up the system? And we've certainly seen that in other contexts.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Duggan's leadership over the last decade, whether it is crime reduction or reducing blight, also just overall growth for the city. There has been quite a bit of impact, would you say?
Oh, definitely. I mean, when he came in, the bankruptcy that existed, kind of immediately dealing with that, and it was just there was a lack of confidence in the city, and so he came in and just small things like the light and getting rid of tearing down some of the the eyesores and the houses that existed. It really kind of had this really proud people that we're not in a good place. And he just did some very common sense things to increase just the belief in the city that has kind of been there all the whole time. And that really started the improvement, and people are at a much more forward-looking, optimistic direction. And then that allowed him to make some policy changes, which also helped that. But it was really just kind of changing the mood and just kind of giving the shot in the arm that was needed, almost as a cheerleader, to then allow the policy prescriptions to really help with the rebound.
The next mayor of Detroit will have fewer resources to work with when those pandemic relief funds run out, and there's potential for tension with the federal government. It's a very different situation than what Mayor Duggan's been dealing with the last few years. So does it look like it might be an uphill battle for whoever the next mayor is?
Yes, for both those reasons. You're following someone that's been very successful, and you have a lot less resources to do it, and you're going to have to really use all your strengths to kind of overcome those things. So following someone that's been successful sometimes is tough, and people are very happy and optimistic now, and so there's more opportunity for disappointment. But if anyone can do it, Mary Sheffield certainly has the experience, starting at a very young age. You're going to have good relationships with the people on the council. And really, if she does a good job, that will bolster her national profile. And certainly, Mayor Duggan is trying to do that to become the next governor. And even someone at a much younger age that has a lot of political experience and a very impressive background, she could follow that in that direction. But definitely less money, less resources. So that's going to cause a lot of push and pull with taxes and some unpopular ways to fund some things that are needed. It's a lot tougher sell with voters when you have a lot of fiscal constraints like that.
Yeah, and things were different, even just with the financial backing from the White House. So if there are unfinished projects or things that need to move forward, what kind of pressure could this put on a new mayor to keep the momentum going?
Yeah, so no matter who wins, they're not going to have the relationship nationally, and that's something with Duggan that went back decades with Joe Biden when he was president. But we've seen that Donald Trump is going to be president through 2029, and so this is kind of a blank slate for whoever wins, and there are ways to bolster a good relationship, find common ground, sometimes more the personal than with the politics and everything. So that opportunity will exist given the high profile nature of the city and how important and large it is. And so whoever wins, that's going to have to be a big thing, not just maybe with the president himself, but with advisors, just introducing the relationship, kind of making the case. And that's a skill that's very important, but also very unique. And so it's going to take the right person to be able to accomplish that in this really tough time.
An issue that's come up constantly in this mayoral race and frequently does is balancing the progress of downtown and midtown with the neighborhoods and the rest of the city. Do you think Sheffield or Kinlock can do that? Is one of them better suited than the other to kind of balance the progress that we want to continue and also bringing everyone else into that?
Yeah, I think they both have different skills. Given her current district, that I think allows some of that balance, and with someone like Kinlock, who's kind of been in both Oakland County and then now back more in the city. So yes, but that doing both those things is very important, and sometimes there's kind of resentment now, so some of the ideas and the projects that can be done has a direct trade-off with others because everyone kind of can't benefit. But I think you saw that specifically with Kinlock. He was really kind of criticizing those that have been left behind while Sheffield has been the leader for the last 12 years, and she has very strong ties to business, and that those may be overwhelming just kind of the average person who may not feel that they benefited in this big resurgence in the last 12 years. So they both, in their own ways, have the opportunity to do that, but no matter who is mayor, that is essential to kind of take this to the next step and even make further progress that has been done in the last 12 years in the Duggan term.
With this transition, what kind of effect do you think this could have on some of the current city employees moving forward?
City employees are very important, and a lot of the budget decisions, unions, this will all be very important for them, and they have a big part to play in this next in the next administration of the mayor. The relationship between the two is very important. That's something that would be a benefit for Sheffield, given her more experience in government, relationship with the employees. But no, they're the backbone, of the city, the economy, and they have a big part to play in this, as well as others that may not work for the city. But that's where it starts. That's the heart of the process, where the funding, the money is needed, and so that'll be a big first step for sure.
Okay, plenty more to discuss in and outside of Detroit. We will continue soon, and we'll take a break right now.
Welcome back to our CBS News Detroit special Election Day coverage on our stream. Lots of important races happening tonight. One of them in Hamtramck. The city is choosing a new mayor tonight.
The former mayor, Amir Ghalib, left his post to pursue an appointment by the Trump administration. And this election comes amid quite a bit of controversy, including recent allegations of election fraud. Gino Vici sat down with all three candidates looking to replace Ghalib to learn about their visions for the city. He joins us live with that. Gino.
Yeah, Shayna, and hello to you, Terrence. This location here, the Hamtramck High School and Community Center, was, I guess you could say, it was off the chain tonight. Lots of voters coming in and out of here all the way up until the polls closed at 8 o'clock. This place was busy all night long. And all three candidates for mayor here in the city of Hamtramck say they are committed to restoring the image of the city, of course, because of those election fraud allegations and charges to some city council members, as well as the departure of the city manager and the police chief. Now, that being said, all three candidates, they did expect this to be a competitive race, although there was a clear front runner in Adam El Harbi. And there was also a write-in candidate, Lynn Blasey, and then the man who came in second, Muhith Mahmood. But again, all three of them say they are focused on bringing the city together, creating some unity. And as you mentioned, the seat was vacated by former Mayor Amir Ghalib for pursuing the ambassador role with the Trump administration. But again, last week we caught up to each candidate. Here's what they had to say in their final message to voters.
I'm running to not as a Yemeni or a Muslim candidate. I'm running to represent everybody in Hamtramck because end of the day, we're all neighbors.
So regardless, whatever you're planning to do, please vote. Your vote is your voice. This is how you elect your candidate who's going to lead you the next 4 years. And you need a person who is honest, who is transparent, and who is willing to work.
I think it's important that Hamtramck's leadership is really grounded in community and in touch with the residents. I have a long track record of being there, showing up, and being an integral part of the community.
And back here live, just to give you an idea of how busy this polling location was, as the polls closed at 8 o'clock, there was a large group of people to my right here, and they began to do a countdown, from 30 seconds all the way down to 1 second when it hit 8 o'clock p.m. So residents here are very excited. They're very anxious to learn who will be their next mayor. And that write-in candidate, Lynn Blasey, a lot of speculation about which candidate or is she going to affect more, which candidate is she going to pull votes from. It's going to be very interesting to see as those numbers come in tonight. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, it's clear that people are very invested in this race, and we see why. We'll talk more about this with Aaron Call coming up. Thanks, Gino. And with several Hamtramck City Council members under investigation for election fraud, the race for 3 open council seats there has just one incumbent who is also under investigation for residency fraud.
Yeah, there's been a lot going on there. Abu Musa is accused of actually living in Warren. He's one of 6 candidates now on the ballot. CBS News Detroit's Heath Kalb joins us live from Hamtramck with more on the race for those city council seats.
Yeah, Terrence, Shana, we're at the Senior Plaza where precincts 5, 6, and 7 have been voting all day. I've actually had a very similar experience to Gino on the other side of the city here, where it has been packed all evening with people going in to vote just up until about 20 minutes ago. But like you both mentioned, there are 6 candidates on the ballot vying for 3 positions, only one incumbent, that is Abu Musa. He's actually been the mayor pro tem for the past few months here in Hamtramck. Now, like I said, it has been packed. There have been a group of about 25 to 30 men just waiting outside, waiting until the first results here outside of the Senior Center. We actually have some of those results where Yusuf Sayed, one of those 6 candidates, is in the lead right now. Just the reporting out of these 3 precincts, obviously still very early as it's only been 20 minutes since the 8 o'clock start. But now back to Abu Musa, the one incumbent. He was appointed the mayor pro tem, but he has been involved in multiple controversies, allegedly being seen in surveillance video dropping off dozens of ballots during the recent primary election. But he was also under investigation for allegedly not living in Hamtramck while being on the city council, as well as 2 other city council members, and he was named in a 2023 election fraud investigation. So certainly a lot to unpack here in Hamtramck as voters here are deciding on who will be in the city council here. And as we get more results, we'll continue to update you guys back at home. But for now, here in Hamtramck, Heath Kalb, CBS News Detroit.
We'll see you again soon. Thanks, Heath.
All right, now we turn to the mayoral race in Dearborn Heights.
Both candidates there know each other pretty well, having worked together on city council. CBS News Detroit's Jack Springate joins us live from Dearborn Heights with more on each of those candidates. Jack.
Hey, good evening, Shayna and Terrence. And talking about these two candidates, Mo Beydoun, he's served the last 2 years on the city council as the chair, and he's served the last couple weeks as acting mayor after being appointed by city council at their mid-October city council meeting. Now, the other candidate, Councilwoman Denise Malinowski-Maxwell, she also has some experience in the mayor's office, serving as interim mayor in the later end of the last couple months of 2020, and that's before she lost the general election against Bill Bazzi in 2021. And if that name sounds familiar, that's the person both of these candidates are trying to replace after he was appointed ambassador to Tunisia by the Trump administration. Now, Beydoun says that he's had a taste of what it's like to serve in the mayor's office here in Dearborn Heights, and that is going to help him seamlessly transition his campaign into work that he's already doing if he's full-term elected. Now, he says his experience on city council has developed some connections with different department heads that he wants to empower more if he is elected as mayor. As for Malinowski-Maxwell, her experience comes with those same connections from her time serving on the city council and also from that time I mentioned as interim mayor in 2020. She says she's also faced unique challenges as a woman, but because of the experience she's had over the last several years in Dearborn Heights government, she's now learned how to deal with a lot of those challenges to better serve her community.
Good news is, I didn't just come into something that I don't know what I'm talking about. I've been able to serve the residents for the last 4 years, and 4 of those 4, 2 of which where I have been the city council chairman.
I know what it takes on a day-to-day basis to run a city. I've done city council for so many years that I know what happens on that side. I'm confident that we can bring the city back to the way it should be.
Now, I don't have any scene setters quite like Gino and Heath just had, talking about all the people waiting outside. I'm at Riverside Middle School right now, and as you can see behind me, there are no lines. Everyone who has wanted to vote here has been able to do so. However, just down the street, there was another polling location that was completely packed with cars, and people were still able to vote, and folks have gotten through those lines and have been able to vote. But when comparing this to the primary election just a couple months ago, poll workers here say it has been a much stronger turnout. Both candidates feel like that's exactly what they need to win. We'll be heading over to the Beydoun campaign headquarters just here in a little bit. But for now, reporting in Dearborn Heights, I'm Jack Springate, CBS News Detroit.
All right, not quite off the chain, as Gino put it, in that neck of the woods, but we'll keep watching it either way. Thanks, Jack.
Very calm. Yeah.
Back with political analyst Aaron Call now. Let's talk about some of those races we just saw from our reporters. Starting in Hamtramck, as we've alluded to, there's been no shortage of controversies, wild headlines coming out of Hamtramck in the last year. Can you tell us about the opportunity that the next mayor and even the council members have to kind of right the ship?
Yes, a lot of controversy with some of the officials, residency issues, and so politics sometimes can be a circus, but there's a lot of opportunity, and the fact that the former mayor is in a very big political position as an ambassador shows the high-profile nature. It was a very important city in the 2024 presidential election, so there's a pipeline if someone comes in, and as we get closer to the 2028 presidential election, that could be a big stepping stone. There specifically, you have the former campaign manager, Al Harvey, who I think is going to be the favorite, looking at the primary results from August. And a third party, a write-in candidate could always change things, but that margin was so large, about 2 to 1 in the primary, that even a few percentage points may not be enough to shift that. But a very big opportunity given the high-profile nature, even though for a bad reason, it's been in the news a lot, not just locally, but nationally. And so if someone comes in with more competency and can solve some of the problems that exist, it could really be a high-profile opportunity for them if they have a bigger goals in mind.
In terms of just overall election integrity and just people's confidence in city leaders, there's been so much that's happened there back to back to back. What kind of impact can that have on voter turnout and just people's optimism for what happens from here?
It could really depress it. And we haven't talked about turnout yet, but I think it's going to be pretty similar to what we saw in the primary, maybe 18, 20%, about 100,000, which in an off-cycle election like this, where it's not a presidential, it's not too bad. It's certainly been lower, but when we've seen some presidential elections in years past, it's been almost 50%, so it could be a lot higher. But yeah, it's just kind of a lack of confidence, a lack of, oh, is my vote, is it going to be properly recorded? Is it going to really make a difference? Or even if, because of so much controversy, does it really matter who wins? Because no matter what happens, if it just kind of follows them, we're still going to get the same issues. And I think there's a lot of that is very common for voters, just kind of saying, well, everyone's corrupt. Look to see what's happened. And so what was the point of even turning out? Because there's going to be these issues. And if someone comes in, a reformer, can really kind of clean up and change those attitudes, that could instill confidence both in the people and make it more likely as we get into larger elections in terms of turnout.
It's not every election day that you have two local races affected by presidential nominations to ambassadorships. Was it just kind of the circumstances that happened to add up to that in this recent election cycle? Or is there something about the Metro Detroit area, its relationship with President Trump, that led us to this position?
Probably a little bit of both those things. I mean, both the supporters, they were kind of against type supporters of the president, and so he liked that. Michigan is close, both in the 2020-24 election, even going back to 2016, and so really small margins, even thousands, tens of thousands of votes could really matter. Obviously, President Trump saw that as very important in wanting to reward that. Two very important countries, Kuwait and Tunisia, for geopolitically, and especially as his efforts to try to bring peace in the Middle East and his jet setting, in trying to solve a lot of the conflicts throughout the globe. And so that's important. And yes, just shows, I think, the importance of both locally, the Detroit area, Michigan itself, that it's going to be a battlefield going forward. And if politicians kind of go against archetype, then that may raise their profiles and really help them in their long-term political ambitions, because they can be very important in very important national races.
Certainly on the map. All right, Aaron, we'll be back with you soon, and we'll take a quick break with more live reports coming up.
Welcome back. It is Election Day in Michigan and across the country. Voters here in Southeast Michigan are making some important decisions tonight.
The polls closed about 30 minutes ago, but anyone who was in line before 8 o'clock will still be able to cast their ballot. Thanks for staying with us for our special election night coverage. I'm Shayna Humphreys.
And I'm Terrence Friday. A number of big races and issues were on the ballot today, from mayoral races to city council and commission elections, as well as municipal and school district proposals.
Of course, one of the biggest races of the night is for Detroit mayor. City Council President Mary Sheffield and Reverend Solomon Kinlock are vying to be the city's first new mayor in 12 years.
We have team coverage in Detroit as those votes are being tallied up. Elaine Rojas Castillo is at Kinlock's watch party tonight, but we're going to begin with Alicia Bergio, who is at a party for Sheffield. Hey, Alicia.
Oh, Shayna, Terrence, I mean, you can just listen to the music. You just feel the energy right now, the excitement in the room here at MGM Grand Casino. Everybody here is so excited and feeling confident that City Council President Mary Sheffield will take the lead as Detroit's next mayor. But joining me right now is one of her supporters, someone here that has been following her journey for quite some time. Nia Greenbaker, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
How are you feeling being here tonight? Are you feeling confident that Council President Sheffield will become Detroit's next mayor?
Yes, absolutely. I have a lot of confidence that she will win this election. I have had the opportunity to watch her throughout this whole entire campaign, and just to be a part of something so historical, with her being the first Black female mayor of the city of Detroit is just such a phenomenal thing to watch firsthand.
Absolutely, and you have been following her journey for quite some time. What is it about Council President Sheffield that makes you feel she will be a good leader for the city of Detroit?
I just love her drive, her motivation, her willingness to genuinely get things done. And I'm really excited as a business owner to be able to potentially have the opportunity to work with Mary Sheffield. Is a privilege and an honor.
Are you surprised to see the amount of support that she has right now in this room?
Absolutely not. She has had support like no other this whole entire campaign. It's such a privilege to see how everyone has been able to support her and come out and donate to her campaign. So, yeah.
You are ready for her to take these next steps?
Yes, I am so ready, and I am super excited to call Mary Sheffield my future mayor.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Nia.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone. Well, the polls are officially closed. Those results, those numbers, they are trickling, and we are following them closely. And we'll, of course, keep you updated as soon as we hear more. But for now, I'll send things back to you in studio. Reporting live at MGM Grand in Detroit, Alicia Bergio, CBS News Detroit.
All right, thanks, Alicia.
Now from Sheffield to her opponent, the Reverend Solomon Kinlock Jr., the church leader and political newcomer, was the runner-up in the August primary.
Yeah, and despite coming in second, he also has quite a bit of support, especially from his ministry. Elaine, what are you seeing out there? How are those supporters feeling?
Well, Terrence and Shayna, as you can imagine, it is really hard to hear, but the energy is getting more and more active now that we're about 30 minutes after polls have closed. And I've gotten a chance to really hear from voters, including one that's joining me right now. Tequila Harris is a staunch Kinlock supporter, and I really wanted to see how she felt about the evening. So Tequila, tell me, what is it about the Reverend that got you to support him?
It's because he has been for 27 years on the ground, actually doing the work in the community for the people. Without a title, he's had the title. So that's essentially what got me pulled in to be there so that we can all make a difference together.
Talk to me about some of the issues that you think he's going to take on if he were to be elected.
I think he's going to definitely attack the 51% of poverty for the children in the city of Detroit. He is a leader who is focused on children in the community. So I know that is going to be top priority. Also, reducing the crime rate in the city of Detroit and making sure those who may not have a college degree or a education, further their education, have the opportunity to still earn a living wage, that they don't have to spend majority of their money to pay their rent, but they'll have something where they'll be able to put up. I really love what the Kinlock promised, that he is looking forward to even bringing $1,000 for each child who graduates. You know, so he has a lot of different ways that he is looking to increase entrepreneurs, making sure that they have a fair chance also. So it's just so many different opportunities for growth that he is interested in making as a whole, not just downtown, but actually in the community. He himself was raised in the city of Detroit. He had the opportunity to ride the public bus system and all of the things. So he knows firsthand what issues we have that need to be addressed, and he is just the man for the job.
What do you hope tonight? How do you hope things, obviously, how do you want things to turn out, but what's the energy like so far that you've been able to see this evening?
So far, the energy has been electric. Everybody's excited. Everybody is ready for change, for the change that Detroit deserves, and we believe that tonight it is actually going to come to pass, so we're excited.
Well, Tequila, thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and Tequila is just one of the dozens of people that are making their way to the Garden Theater here in Midtown to show their support for the church leader, and we'll be here for the rest of the evening as we wait for results to roll in. So as we get more information, we'll be sure to get it to you both on air and online. But for now, reporting live at the Garden Theater, Elaine Rojas Castillo, CBS News Detroit.
All right, thanks, Elaine. Let's continue the conversation and bring in political analyst Aaron Call, Director of Debate with the University of Michigan. Thank you again for sticking around with us. We appreciate it. So we see that there's some good energy at both of those races. And, you know, they're down to two, of course, him coming in second in August. But with those other candidates now out of the picture, how could that shift the outcome tonight?
Yeah, in the primary, it was a really large field with 7 candidates. And the Sheffield had a big lead. She got over 50% of the vote. But then the other candidates were really split. And I think Kinlock only ended up with about 15 or 17%. And so anytime that happens and the race gets narrowed to 2, there's a big potential for, you know, where are all those voters going to go. And I think the thing we've seen since then, to maybe give you some kind of indication, is 2 of the biggest participants in the primary did endorse Sheffield. And which shows with the Duggan endorsement, the amount of money, the donations, everything, all that momentum is going to her. And you know, the polls like this for races are small. There's usually only one, and the data is not a huge sample size, but that did show an even larger lead than the 34-point or lead to over 50 points potentially, which would be in a massive landslide territory. So there is some room, but just kind of given the candidates who they endorsed, it's unclear whether Kinlock can make up that ground, that large gap and gulf that existed in the primary in August.
Yeah, this race has overall been pretty tame, pretty quiet, and maybe that's why, because there's such a big gap. But there was sort of a 11th hour, I guess, late October surprise over the weekend. Pastor Kinlock, to his congregation, made some pretty big accusations against Sheffield and accused her of being corrupt. What can you say, or if you want to break down that whole situation for the viewers?
October surprises are very popular in politics, and it's all about timing. And did it come too late? Because right now, starting in 2022, early voting was a big thing. And so if 50,000 people have already voted the last weekend before an election, is that going to be enough to move the needle? Maybe not. But that corruption mantra is something that he introduced all the way going back to the primary in August, even the debate, kind of saying, look at the people you surround yourself with, all the corporations that are huntering you, you're more business friendly, and just that you set yourself up for corruption. There was not just this, there was also the ticket allegation. And so
tickets.
Trying to kind of put together a pattern of, is this candidate, my opponent, looking out for you or the people of the city? And it was, I thought, a little persuasive if you can establish a pattern, and he did pretty well, I thought, on the debate stage, but it never really took, at least given by the public polling that we've seen. The gap was so large, and he also faced some accusations of himself, some youthful indiscretions and issues that came out. It's opposition research, obviously very popular in politics. So again, that goes into the cynicism of the voters. Well, everyone has some kind of issues, and so nobody's going to be perfect, and you have to vote for someone. So maybe a little bit too late to make a huge difference and just too much ground to make up. But certainly it dominated and changed the campaign in the last few days. She altered her schedule. She became a little more recluse. So you saw it definitely got under her skin.
Now, do you think those issues will come to haunt either candidate should they end up in office?
Definitely. That's something that will go into the file of their future opponent. And, maybe if there's more to the story, some of the explanations, anytime that she was kind of accused of this corruption, it was, a lawyer vetted it or it was okay. And sometimes that just becomes a little too simple of an explanation and does fit kind of a narrative of you're purposely going out of the way to at least skirt some legal and ethical issues, and people really want their politicians to uphold the highest ethical standards given the importance of their position.
And then with Kinlock, there were some questions about his residence, whether or not he actually lives in the city. And there's also others who are just concerned about the fact that he does run such a large ministry and how he'd be able to split his focus and be able to be the mayor and keep things going in a positive direction. How do those things play a role in voters' decisions when it comes to him?
Yeah, I think that was a big concern. I think we'd been the first mayor in like 125 years to have another full-time job. And he did a great job with Triumph, started just a few thousand, building it up, but definitely questions about the authenticity of, did you live in Oakland County at these really nice homes for all those years, and did the church buy your home, or there's some kind of deal there? And that's, a lot of questions, because this job at this time following Mike Duggan is going to require full-time attention. I mean, you can understand his ability to want to continue to do that given what he's built up, and he's so passionate and eloquent about it, but this is a very demanding job. This is going to require a lot of time, a lot of relationships, especially for someone who doesn't have any political experience. You're going to have to, even to get to square one, require a lot of things. And so yeah, I definitely think that the residency issues, that's something that's gone back even to Mike Duggan, that dogged him initially. And so, yes, people want authentic candidates that reflect their own experiences, and the closer connection you have, the more you know about what needs to be done, the best way to do it, because you're there and have put in the time and seen it with your own eyes, as opposed to just reading about it and then taking action in response to that.
And speaking of Duggan, what kind of influence do you think he has had on this race? I mean, don't a lot of people just associate Sheffield with Duggan, whether he endorsed her or not?
Definitely, and he has such astronomical approval rating that it's going to be, those coattails are going to be very helpful to her. The timing of his endorsement was interesting, didn't become before the primary, and then in August it came, and that really then built up her lead when they did some polling in October. So that's the gold standard endorsement that you would want, and when you combine that with getting also the endorsement from her former opponents, fundraising, everything, it all set up for the way we are tonight, heading into to see what the results actually bear out.
All right, Aaron Call, thanks so much for being with us. We'll be back with you soon. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with a look at some of the other major races happening in Metro Detroit. Actually, we're not going to take a break. We're actually going to go over to Terrell Bailey, because this is not the only race we're following.
Yeah, there are some other big races, of course, that we're watching for tonight. Terrell Bailey is here with us in studio, keeping an eye on some of those big issues that we are focused on. Terrell, what are we seeing so far?
Thank you all for that introduction. But first, let's go ahead and head to Macomb County. So in East Point, 2 city council seats are up for grabs, but there's also something else on the ballot as well. So it's an amendment change. It all deals with the city manager position. That's the person that's appointed by the city to handle overall, like day-to-day operations. So right now, the East Point city manager must have at least 1 year of experience as a city or village manager or assistant manager. This proposal would change that. If approved, it would require the city manager to have at least 2 years of experience in municipal management. Oddly enough, I find this to be a very interesting change, because right now the city of East Point is actually hiring a city manager. A contract, I've learned, has been sent out, but it's unclear if it's been accepted by that candidate. Now let's go to Dearborn. A proposal there would change the number of city council members and overall how things work. So right now, there are 7 city council members. If this is approved, there would become 9 seats. 7 would be elected from districts, and then each district covers a certain part of the city. Then 2 of those city council members would be elected citywide. Those are what you call at-large positions. So also a commission would be created to draw those 7 districts after each census. So is this unusual? Not really. This is actually kind of a similar setup to cities like Detroit, Warren, and even Ann Arbor.
All right, Terrell, keeping an eye on a lot of the races around Metro. We'll come back to you soon.
Welcome back to our special election night coverage here on CBS News Detroit.
Let's take a look at some other races, key races happening in the area. The Dearborn Heights mayoral election is between two candidates who are very familiar with one another after working together on city council. Our Jack Springate is in Dearborn Heights with more on how that race is shaping up as polls are closed and the ballots are being counted.
That's right, and both of these candidates are hoping to replace the seat left vacant by former Mayor Bill Bazzi, who is now the ambassador to Tunisia, tapped by the Trump administration. And both Councilwoman Denise Malinowski Maxwell and now acting Mayor Mo Beydoun, they grew up in this city, and both of them say they want to return it to the way it was when they remember it best. Now, like I said, Beydoun is acting mayor. He was just elevated to that position a couple weeks ago during a mid-October meeting after serving as the city council chair for 2 years. He says he wants to raise the standards in Dearborn Heights back to where they were when he was growing up. He says he'll do this by investing in public works, ordinance officers, as well as in parks and rec. Now, Malinowski Maxwell told me how she remembers walking by City Hall as a child and seeing the mayor back then wave and interact with the kids walking with her. She said that's when she felt safe in this community, but she says it's hard to feel that way anymore after seeing reckless drivers causing accidents across the city. She says she'll change that by beefing up law enforcement.
We're not feeling that sense of community lately. There's been a lot of bickering, a lot of fighting, a lot of pushback, a lot of lawsuits. So we have to we need to bring, we don't have, it's a must to bring the community back together before we lose it.
People did things together. I don't see them doing that now. They took pride in taking care of their houses. The businesses were clean. And you don't find that anymore.
Now they're counting up the votes back at City Hall right now. I'm here at Riverside Middle School, where I was talking with poll workers here who were saying it was a much bigger turnout than we saw in the primary election just a couple months ago. A few miles down the street at one of the other polling locations that's also a rec facility, I mean, there wasn't a parking spot in sight. You also had the Mo Beydoun campaign truck out there that had his face on it. So these candidates have been campaigning all day long to make sure that they can get any extra votes from this higher voter turnout to hopefully push them over the edge and become the next mayor of Dearborn Heights. We're going to head on over to the Beydoun campaign in just a little bit to see how that's shaping up and maybe speak with the candidate himself. But for now, reporting live in Dearborn Heights, I'm Jack Springate, CBS News Detroit.
All right, we'll check in with you once you head over there. Thanks, Jack. Now, there's also the race for mayor of Hamtramck amid recent election fraud allegations and a number of other controversies.
Yeah, the former mayor, Amir Ghalib, has left his job to pursue an appointment by the Trump administration. Our Gino Vici is following that race. And Gino, what can you tell us about what we're seeing and also the turnout so far there today?
Yeah, well, this has been by far the busiest polling location. I'm right here at Hamtramck High School, Hamtramck Community Center. There's a lot at stake here, especially in light of all the controversy in the city. Now, all three candidates here, as mayor candidates here in the city of Hamtramck, say they're committed to restoring the city's reputation because of recent election fraud charges and allegations, as well as the departure of the city manager, the departure of the police chief. That being said, all three candidates say they're confident in their ability to win tonight. But I can't say enough about how busy this polling location was tonight. Again, it was much busier than the primary, which is typical. But again, voters had three options for mayor on the ballot tonight. The front runner, Adam El Harbi, a Yemeni Muslim candidate, Muhith Mahmoud, a Bengali Muslim candidate, and a write-in candidate and longtime resident Lynn Blasey, who, again, last week we caught up to each candidate. Here's what they had to say in their final message to voters.
I'm running to represent everybody in Hamtramck because at the end of the day, we're all neighbors.
I need a person who is honest, who is transparent, and who is willing to work.
I think it's important that Hamtramck's leadership is really grounded in community and in touch with the residents.
Back here live now, the votes have been gathered, taken over to City Hall. The city clerk and the volunteers are counting those votes. We do expect to hear some early results in the next 30 to 45 minutes. Back to you guys.
All
Those
right,
results
thanks,
starting
Gino.
to trickle in.
For sure. We're going to stay on top of that. Make sure we get that information to you as we start getting it. For now, though, let's bring back in our political analyst, Aaron Culp, the director of debate with the University of Michigan. We want to talk about some of the races that are happening across the nation, but let's just start back with what we're talking about here in Hamtramck before we get to that. We're seeing that a lot of people are showing up. They do want to see some change. Again, there's been a lot of controversy there. So do you think that we'll be able to see some positive change in the right direction given the circumstances and the candidates that are on the list?
I think so, and they deserve that given everything that people have gone through. It's in some ways become kind of a laughingstock, and not just locally, but even outside. And so, when you see issues like that, you want to address them, and those involved do have some experience with government. And so yes, I think that also could increase voter turnout and enthusiasm because of all the problems that existed, and then that's really going to light the fire under whoever does win, knowing that there's going to be accountability and follow-up, just given the real tough times that they've had to deal with for the last, at least the last year.
And, this is an off-year election. Turnout is not great, as we've seen in the city of Detroit. Let's talk about, though, how some of these races, whether we're talking about the mayoral race in Detroit, others in Wayne County, or even mayoral races in places like New York City, how can these individual races have some impacts on the rest of the state or the country?
Yeah, it's definitely an off cycle, but this is kind of the first election since this big presidential election we had in 2024. And so it's the first barometer, actually data and voting. You get to see what do they care about? This issue of affordability, that seems to be a common theme in a lot of the different races. And so rewarding politicians that kind of focus on that. The cost of housing is too high, prices are too high, what kind of solutions they have in order to solve that. So it gives you a real important interaction of what are the issues that are important, and also what kind of politicians are the ones that have the solutions to solve it. Is it someone more that has inside political experience, or people come from a different background that could have outside the box ideas to solve it? So it gives you both an idea of the issues and the candidates. But these, they're going to be midterm elections just about a year from tonight, which will be very consequential in terms of control of the House of Representatives, the Senate, and things like that. So tonight, both locally and nationally, we'll get an idea of has the electorate shifted in terms of ideology or in terms of issues that they care about, the ones they want the politicians to focus on. So this is the first real night in actual data and voting that everyone has, and then political parties and everyone will plan accordingly in reaction to that as we head to the next major election in the next year.
Yeah, a lot of these races are nonpartisan, but just looking at the bigger picture across the country, people are affected by a lot of what's going on in Washington and just across the nation. So as we do move forward into the midterms, if we start getting more people elected and things change, how could that affect people who are living in these areas where they're suffering, especially with the government shutdown, like you mentioned, the price of rent, food, and things of that nature?
I think part of it will be, who wins tonight, and then what do they do, and then what are the voters' reactions to that going to be? There's obviously some cynicism now about does it matter who wins or what they're going to do, but if some of the actions are very transformative and they see some improvement or some change, that could give them the confidence to, with the right person in the right circumstance, focusing on the right issues, that they can actually do some good. And while these elections generally, the turnout is low, as we get into kind of larger, even more important elections as in terms of national implication and beyond just the local areas, then that's important to instill that belief and get the turnout and the interest up even higher. So it's going to be all about whether the politicians that win, whether it's just campaigning or do they actually have the ability, the policy, the skills to implement those things, and is that enough to instill a confidence in the voters to turn around kind of some cynicism that exists right now.
So looking specifically across the nation, let's look at California. Mm-hmm. If the redistricting effort there is passed, what kind of effect could that have on a place like Michigan? Do you see that fight making its way to Michigan?
It's possible, but there's a lot of inertia with independent redistricting. That was a major issue a few years ago. I think people think the congressional districts in Michigan are pretty balanced right now, and so maybe not particularly here, but definitely other states that weren't able to get this effort done in 2024 with the time could happen in 2026 or at the very latest 2028. States like New York, In Virginia, maybe people that haven't done it but are considering it. So, oh yeah, the redistricting has a huge impact, both of who's going to be maybe some of the most prominent Democratic challengers to the Republican Party in 2028, because the governors in different states are trying to get those passed, and if they're successful, that could really increase their platform and put them on the map. And then if other states follow, it could help politically, but also cause more partisanship and not as many competitive races, because all the different districts are gerrymandered to just allow, kind of reward people from going from one extreme to the other, as opposed to appealing to the middle voters. And so you may not get the exact desired result that you're looking for in that new system.
And then when you look at places like New Jersey or Virginia, and the fact that there are just so many major issues that are affecting a lot of people, what kind of shift could that have in election results?
Yeah, I think the shift in the focus so far, especially those two races specifically, has been affordability, prices. And one of the big reasons when Donald Trump came as president, it was inflation is too high, several percent, things at the store, everything costs are so high, the economy gets such a big advantage on. In this almost year that he's been president, those costs have continued to increase, and you've seen these candidates in the states, New Jersey, Virginia, really focus on those, that electricity prices are too high, and the cost of coffee or beef and those things. They don't have the solutions exactly, kind of how to decrease them, but at least they're saying, this is what people really concerns them, and this is why, even if wages, it's not enough to cover that. So they have a laser-like focus on those costs and affordability issues. Even if the stock market is high and other economic indicators, that's the thing that really seems to be driving voter anger, enthusiasm to the poll, and they want to identify that. But then the next key step is, what policies could they support or usher through to address the roots of those issues? There's only so much you can do, especially if you get down to the state or local areas.
And in the Northeast, what about New York City? That mayoral race, however that plays out, how does that affect the Democratic Party and the Republican Party across the nation?
Yeah, I think it's really about the future of, especially the Democratic Party. Is it more a kind of a left, more socialist view, or is it a way to win national elections is to moderate more? And we're seeing a real contrast to that tonight. If Mamdani wins in New York City, it's because he energized, that's more of a generational issue. He's energizing younger people to the poll, people that typically aren't involved in politics. Normally, the adage is older people are reliable, especially in off-cycle elections like this. But the average age of the voters, seeing the numbers, those turning out, show that with the right candidate, the right message, focusing on the right issues, you can totally change the dynamic of the map and bring a whole new coalition to an elections. But it's a big push or pull. In Virginia and New Jersey, Democrats put up very moderate centrist candidates. And if they all end up winning tonight, that may not solve the issue, because it just shows there's different ways to do it. Yeah. There's not just one template. There's different ways to energize and create new coalitions. And so maybe you don't need just one particular issue. It could be, depending on what the state is or what the electorate is, there's multiple ways to do it to cause those coalitions, to cause the political change they're looking for.
Yeah, I think in New York City, they've had the biggest turnout in almost 25 years. So it should be interesting. And I know those numbers are going to start coming in very soon. We're going to take a quick break. Thanks for staying with CBS News Detroit for our special election night coverage. I'm Shayna Humphreys.
And I'm Terrence Friday. If you're just joining us, the polls have been closed for an hour. We are waiting for the first of those ballot counts to start coming in.
Tonight, voters will decide among a number of races who will be the next mayor of Detroit, and it'll be the city's first new leader in 12 years.
Candidate Reverend Solomon Kinlock Jr. is now running against City Council President Mary Sheffield. If Sheffield were to win, she would be the first woman to lead the state's largest city. Here is a look at where things stand right now. We've got Mary Sheffield coming at 75.4% of the vote. Solomon Kinlock Jr. coming in behind her significantly at 24.6%.
Let's check in with our crews who are out in the field with the candidates tonight. Elaine Rojas Castillo is at the watch party for Solomon Kinlock, but we'll start with Alicia Bergio at the watch party for City Council President Mary Sheffield. And I know they're feeling pretty good. Alicia.
Shayna, Terrence, let me tell you, you can just feel the excitement right now in the room here at MGM Grand Casino. Everybody is just so excited, feeling so optimistic and confident that City Council President Mary Sheffield is going to become their next mayor. Now, one of the people who are one of her supporters, Darlene Dixon, she joins me here tonight. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, thank you so much.
Tell me, how are you feeling tonight? I mean, this is such a great turnout.
It's a historical moment. I'm very excited. The people of Detroit are excited. We're about to elect the first female mayor that has ran on results. Mary Sheffield has proven herself to be an excellent city council member, along with the mayor of Detroit, and we can't wait for her to take the mantle and go forward and move the city even further.
Move the city forward. Now look at you. You already have Mayor Sheffield right now decked out as on your sweatshirt right here. You're feeling pretty good about this.
I'm feeling excellent about it. I think we're making a very good choice. We couldn't have made a better choice tonight with Mary Sheffield.
Now tell me, you have been following Mary Sheffield's journey from the start. Tell me, what is it about her that would make her a good leader as the mayor of Detroit?
Anybody that wants to go into politics to be a public servant at 26 is serious. So being the youngest person ever elected to city council is amazing. And to stay diligent, to stay focused. She likes being a public servant. That's who you want in office. People that's going to serve the people, people that's honest, people that really show that they care.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Darlene. We appreciate it. I hope you have the best time tonight.
Oh, yes. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Detroit. We are making history. Go Sheffield.
All right. You can just feel the energy right there, you guys. I'm going to send things back to you in studio, but we are following the results of this election. Of course, we'll keep you updated as those numbers start pouring in. But for now, reporting live in Detroit, Alicia Bergio, CBS News Detroit.
All right, yeah, we can certainly tell. It seems like each live hit we take with Alicia, it just gets louder and louder for each one of them.
Ramps up a little bit.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alicia.
All right, let's go to our Elaine Rojas Castillo, who is at the watch party for Solomon Kinlock Jr. Elaine?
Well, Shayna and Terrence, not to be outdone, but the energy here at the Kinlock Watch Party is hopeful and joyous. We've got people coming in from all walks of life, including Ethel Austin, a supporter of the Reverend, who wanted to share why she wanted to support him as much as she does. Now, Ethel, tell me a little bit about what Reverend Kinlock's goal and campaign has meant to you.
Okay, so Pastor Kinlock, I support him because he walks in integrity. His character speaks for itself. You know, he's helped families. He's helped families get Christmas shopping, feeds families. He does multiple things for people. That's why I support him. He rocks with the people, the little people. So I rock with him.
When you see the energy in this room, people are sharing stories about what the Reverend's done for them as pastor of Triumph Church, and also just in general, what has this campaign's message meant to you?
It means a change for better, for the little people, for us, for everyone, not just for you, and you. It's a change for everyone, you know, for better jobs, better education for the kids. You know, it means a lot, and it's amazing what he's going to do.
When you think about what's coming for Detroit, regardless of what happens, what do you want to see in the next leader of our city?
I want to see more of looking out for the neighborhoods. Our neighborhoods are suffering. Our neighborhood kids are suffering. You know, we can't go to the parks. We can't go anywhere without thinking we're in danger or something. You know, it means a lot that he's going to stand up for that.
Well, Ethel, I can't thank you enough for taking the time from this party to talk to me, and I hope you have the best time tonight.
Kinlock for mayor!
We're going to be here throughout the evening talking to people just like Ethel to hear what the Reverend's campaign has meant to them as we wait for those results to come in. But for now, reporting live at the Garden Theater, Elaine Rojas Castillo, CBS News Detroit.
All right, thanks, Elaine. Both of those candidates have very different groups of supporters, but one thing that's synonymous is a sense of hope.
All right, thank you, Elaine. We'll see you soon. Of course, also happening today are the Detroit City Council races. Two of those seats just wide open. One of them was Fred Durhal's seat. He left his seat to run for mayor. And then, of course, there's District 5. This is Council President Mary Sheffield's seat. Running to replace her are Renata Miller. She's a retired UAW worker, worked for Chrysler in her career. And then there's Police Commissioner Willie Burton. So that'll be an interesting race. We're still waiting for results to come in there, but we'll keep you posted as they do.
All right, let's bring back in our election analyst, Aaron Call from the University of Michigan. Aaron, thank you for being here. So we're seeing how those groups are now watching as the numbers start to roll in. Both of them seem to be very excited. We're already seeing, though, even though it's early on, something similar to what we saw in August, which is Sheffield kind of leading by a landslide. Do you think that could be the direction that we continue to go in tonight?
I think so. I mean, there's no reason to think that there's going to be a late surge or that what's been counted now is not representative. I mean, we haven't looked at the different precincts or as if it's an early vote versus a same-day vote. So, yes, I expect a similar lead probably to persist. And if it does, I mean, we're getting into Mike Duggan territory from the last two races, getting a threshold of 70, 75%. It was very impressive, for someone in this position. And in his first race, he won a pretty close race by only about 10 points. So for the first time you do this, if this margin continued, it'd be very impressive, but also builds up very big expectations already for you to follow, given the really strong start to the race.
Yeah, do you think filling those shoes of Mayor Duggan, is it going to be more of a blessing or more of a curse for whichever candidate has to?
Well, it's all going to be result dependent, but I think anyone who subjects yourself to such a tough thing like politics believes in themselves. And I mean, obviously, everyone involved is very talented and has unique backgrounds and been very successful no matter what they do. And so I think just to do it, to try something like this, you think that, well, yes, the person who preceded me is very impressive, that I could even do better. I see some of myself in there, but also maybe they did some things that I would do differently now. And so that's at least the attitude they have going in with it. Now, whether they can deliver is another story, because it's a lot to follow, but there's still a lot of things. We saw some of the poverty rates, especially of children, come up recently. Housing still is way too expensive and unaffordable. Taxes, there's a lot of issues, even though a lot's been done, that is still right to improve upon. And if they do that successfully, then they'll have a very successful career in front of them.
Duggan is, of course, hoping to take over as governor. If that were to happen, and with this change in place, how could that work, and how could that be a dynamic that we haven't seen before moving forward?
Yeah, certainly you want a good relationship between the governor and the mayor, and if he were to win with this early endorsement that he gave, certainly that'd be a good working relationship and good for both the state and good for Detroit. And so that'd be, and that's going to be a very close race. Some of the latest polling we saw on that almost have it as a three-way tie. It's obviously very early, before debates, anything like that. But yeah, and I think that it's very unique. I mean, he served as Democratic governor, then he decided he wanted to run independent as governor. Probably thought that it'd be difficult to maybe get out of the primary. But these days, independent runs, while they exist, are very rare, and there's a lot of uphill battle there. But he's been very successful with his fundraising. Obviously, he has a very successful and impressive background. And so if that were to be successful, that could also serve as a model for others, where we have just kind of a two-party system that's very competitive. If they show a path here in Michigan, an important battleground state, then that could change some of the thinking and ways that are done with candidates in other states, and they could follow that trend. But it'd be that relationship would obviously be very important for the state and the city.
All right, Aaron, we'll continue discussing soon. Again, polls are closed now, and we are watching as those first ballot counts start to come in. Stay with us. CBS News Detroit will continue to bring you reaction, analysis, and race alerts as the night continues.
And we will check in on those other major races that are happening in Dearborn Heights and Hamtramck after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are continuing our watch of those first ballot counts as they continue to come in. It's been more than an hour since the polls closed.
And those results should be coming in soon. Let's take a look and see if anything's in yet for Dearborn Heights. Still waiting for some of those ballot counts to come in, but of course this is between Mo Beydoun and Denise Malinowski Maxwell. We'll keep you updated as soon as those numbers start to come in. And speaking of Dearborn Heights, that's where our Jack Springate is right now. It's been quiet there for the last couple of hours, but Jack, we're expecting numbers to come in soon. What are you hearing where you are?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And what I've heard from poll workers is that we're definitely seeing more voters turn out for the general election than we saw in the primary election. I actually just got off the phone with someone who's working to count these ballots over at City Hall, and she tells me that they're still counting the absentee ballots, so we won't be getting numbers in for just a little bit yet. But talking about the experience both of these candidates bring coming into this race in the first place, Mo Beydoun serving the last 2 years as the city council chair here in Dearborn Heights, and now he's actually serving as the acting mayor. He's held that position for the last couple of weeks. Now, Denise Malinowski Maxwell, she also has experience in the mayor's office, serving as interim mayor in the last couple months of 2020 before going head-to-head against Bill Bazzi in 2021, losing that mayoral election. But Bazzi is the man that both of these candidates are trying to replace. Now, Beydoun told me now that he's had a taste of what it's like to lead this city from the mayor's office, he can seamlessly transition the work he's currently doing into a full term if elected tonight. He says his experience in city council already developed his connections to different department heads that he wants to empower more going forward. Malinowski Maxwell comes in with those same connections from her time serving on the city council and also from that time as interim mayor in 2020. She says she's also faced some unique challenges as a woman, but because of her experience in these last several years working in Dearborn Heights city government, she's learned how to deal with these challenges and to serve her community better.
Good news is, I didn't just come into something that I don't know what I'm talking about. I've been able to serve the residents for the last 4 years, and four of those four, two of which where I have been the city council chairman.
I know what it takes on a day-to-day basis to run the city. I've done city council for so many years that I know what happens on that side. I'm confident that we can bring the city back to the way it should be.
And both these candidates truly do have hearts to lead Dearborn Heights, both having grown up here in this city. And like I said before, I just spoke with someone who's counting ballots in City Hall right now. She says that they're still opening up and counting absentee ballots. We should start to get some numbers once they're done with that process, but we're still waiting for that to get completed. So for now, reporting live in Dearborn Heights, I'm Jack Springate, CBS News, Detroit.
All right, thank you, Jack. We'll touch base soon. Now let's head over to Hamtramck, where Adam Al-Harbi is running against Muhith Mahmood to take over for Amir Ghalib, who has been nominated to become ambassador to Kuwait. 0% of that vote in as well, so we're standing by, waiting for those results to start coming in.
Yeah, we're also watching to see who will make up Hamtramck's city council. We see a list of the candidates there. 0% of the vote in there as well, but we know that there has been a lot of activity there. Our Gino Vici is out there tonight. Also a lot at stake in that area. It's been riddled with controversy throughout the year. Gino, just based on what you've been able to see out there tonight, what has the energy been like and the sense of hope and change for some of those residents?
Yeah, well, Terrence, and hello, Shayna. The energy has been very high. The hope is very high. And if you had to judge based on, we had to give a prediction based on who got a good turnout, I would have to say, and many others would agree here, the Bengali community came out in large numbers. Of course, their candidate is Muhith Mahmood. He's running against Adam Al-Harbi, who was the clear front runner in the primary election. But again, for the election today, there were far more people coming to vote in person than in the primary, which is, pretty typical. But like you mentioned, lots of controversy in the city of Hamtramck in recent years. Election fraud, election allegations, residency fraud allegations, and all of this causing the candidates to focus their message on restoring the identity, the reputation of the city. Because of that, remember, the city manager departed his position. The police chief was also departed his position, recently resigned. And all because of this. This is why the candidates are focusing their message on unity, restoring the reputation of the city. And all three candidates, I spoke with them last week. I also spoke to a few of them tonight. They're pretty confident in their ability to win this, especially Mahmood, as well as the frontrunner Al-Harbi. It was a write-in candidate. It's going to be interesting to see who she took votes away from in this election, who's going to suffer because of this write-in. That write-in is Lynn Blasey. She is a longtime Hamtramck resident, member of the community. And, last week we caught up to each candidate. But again, because of the election fraud allegations, their focus is, simply put, restoring the identity, the reputation of the community. And again, as you mentioned, Terrence, those results should start coming in any minute now. We're expecting them between 9:30, 10 o'clock, so we should see some results very quickly here in Hamtramck for the mayor's race. Guys, back to you.
On the edges of our seats, waiting for those numbers to come in. Yes, soon. Thank you very much, Gino.
All right, we're going to go now to Heath Kalb, who is on the Hamtramck City Council watch tonight. Again, another few positions that could be very critical in shaping the future of this area. Heath, how are things looking for you?
Yeah, definitely, Terrence. It has been quiet here for the past hour or so, but before that, before the polls closed at 8 p.m. here at the Senior Center, where the precincts 5, 6, and 7 for Hamtramck have been voters have been coming here all day. It has been busy and packed. A similar message from voters that Gino has been hearing, that I've been hearing. There are 6 candidates vying for 3 open spots on the Hamtramck City Council this evening. Only one of those 6 candidates is an incumbent. That's Abu Musa, and he has been riddled with a lot of controversy over the past few years. Namely, he's alleged to not actually live in Hamtramck during his time on the city council here. Now, the other 5 candidates here that are vying for those 3 positions, Naeem Chowdhury, Motahar Fidel, Abdullah Malik Qasim, Yusuf Saeed, and Lukman Salah. Now, we did get some of the early results from the 3 precincts here. It's still obviously way too early to tell. But I spoke to 2 of those city council candidates who were here with some of their family, friends, and supporters this evening. I spoke to Motahar Fidel and Yusuf Saeed about why they think they could help turn the tide in the city council here in Hamtramck.
It's a lot of things going on in the city, and the city of Hamtramck, especially the council. And then, to make a difference for the resident of Hamtramck.
And I feel like the community need candidates who really been in the community and know how to serve all the Hamtramck residents, who support diversity in the community.
Now, both of those candidates that I spoke to just about an hour ago, right as the polls were closing, told me they have been very happy and proud of their city here in Hamtramck. They're both very longtime residents here of the city. They say it's been a big turnout, both before today and today here at the polls. They're both expecting to be part of the Hamtramck City Council, but obviously it's way too early to tell as we're still counting up all those ballots here as the Hamtramck City Council and Hamtramck Mayor, as Gino has been following, is on the ballot. And a big night for Hamtramck politics here, outside of the Senior Center. Back to you, Terrence and Shayna.
All right, for our viewers just joining us on CBS Detroit, we do have breaking news. The Associated Press is projecting that City Council President Mary Sheffield will be the next mayor of Detroit.
Yeah, that means she will be making history in the city. Electing Sheffield means that the city will have its first black woman to serve as mayor for the city of Detroit. The current city council president has been maintaining her confidence throughout this. Of course, she was a front runner in August in the primary. She's made a lot of conversation throughout this whole thing because of her connection to Duggan. And of course, we've seen that support in that picture that we keep taking out there with Alicia. A lot of her supporters also very confident that this was going to be the outcome.
Yeah, very important time for the city of Detroit. First new mayor in 12 years, and by and large a very successful 12 years under Duggan's leadership. And Mayor-elect Mary Sheffield had the endorsement of the current mayor, and that worked out very well for her. This is a historic moment for the city of Detroit.
It is second youngest mayor to be projected to win for the city of Detroit. She's made a lot of promises in terms of maintaining the momentum that we've seen in the city. Of course, Detroit has come from a place where things were not so good decades ago, but we've seen that positive change downtown and throughout those neighborhoods in terms of removing blight and changing what we see in the city, and also just bringing in new businesses. And that is something that she says she wants to continue with this new administration.
Yeah, of course, a lot of challenges she will face as well, and we will get into all of those. We're standing by to hear from the mayor-elect as she speaks at her watch party. We are going to head back over to the CBS News app and continue our streaming special election night coverage. We will break back into CBS Detroit over the air when Sheffield takes the stage.
Right now, though, we do want to go to our Terrell Bailey, who's also keeping a close eye on some of the important races that are happening here tonight. There's so much change that could be happening in the area. It could affect a lot of people. Terrell, what are we seeing so far?
So much change is exactly right, Terrence. Right now, it's been just over 1 hour since those polls officially closed. We are starting to receive some of those unofficial results. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of those mayoral races that are unfolding in Oakland County. First up is the mayoral race in Southfield. Southfield Mayor Ken Siver has 53% of the vote, just under 8,000 voters to Sylvia Jordan's 46% of the vote, nearly 7,000 voters voting for Sylvia Jordan. Then in Pontiac, Mike McGinnis is going to be going up against Kermit Williams. McGinnis right now is the current city council president. You can clearly tell he has that lead over Williams, 54.4% to 45.3%. As for Farmington Hills, Teresa Rich, she is leading the pack with over 55% of the vote compared to Randy and Jimmy as well. Rich has just over 3,000 voters voting for her. And last but not least, let's head to Clawson. Paula Millen and Suzanne Moffitt are hoping to lead the city as the next mayor. Moffitt is leading with 56.8% of the vote, which is roughly around 1,700 voters. Unofficial results, these are slowly coming in as the night continues. Of course, CBS News Detroit will continue to follow all of the races that are taking place all across Metro Detroit. Guys?
Terrell. So back here is our in-house election analyst, Aaron Call. So it was kind of a foregone conclusion, but it is official now. We can say that Mary Sheffield will be the next mayor of Detroit. This is a historic moment for the city, for Sheffield. What's your initial reaction?
Yeah, she had a very impressive campaign. She met and exceeded every kind of expectation. Historical is definitely the right word to put on it. The 75 mayors previously all male. Sherry McPhail was close in 1993, but making history is very important, and I think it will be perceived not just locally, but all throughout the state and the country, just given the historical significance of what happened tonight.
And what does it say, just the importance and significance of having a black woman elected for the first time to lead this city, this major city, and also the fact that she has continued to be in the front when it comes to support?
Yeah, I mean, just from the beginning, she had all the support, but she set herself up the perfect position, being in the council so young, getting the confidence of her peers to be elected, the president of the council, getting all the endorsement. I mean, her family certainly helped, having a lot of connections and credibility, which kind of gave her all the right endorsements, the Mayor Duggan endorsement, private businesses, a lot of the big philanthropers, which in that private investment is really key to the turnaround and certainly the future. And so kind of had everything set up, and there's been this kind of glass ceiling in politics, both locally and nationally, and this is kind of just another step toward it, and see if that then gets emulated and encourages other candidates, and then we'll even see it at a higher level at state or the national level, and so it's just kind of another notch in that direction tonight.
Sheffield has really had a remarkable career and very fascinating life. She comes from a prominent family, lines of civil rights leaders in Detroit. The name is very well known. Her face is very well known in Detroit after her political career so far. Of course, every person is unique, but is there another political figure that you would compare her to?
Probably not exactly, just given the unique nature that you mentioned. As you said, she has this family lineage, but she started really young, just kind of, both in the church and volunteering for different campaigns of Archer and others, and her schooling background and the connection locally. I think that's something that really sets it apart. In some of the other conversations we've had, there have been residency issues and things like that. That was certainly nothing. That authenticity really exists, and I think people tie her to the area, given her connection, both family connection, which she's aware of the issues. She's been working on them since like a teenager, and so no, I think that really kind of sets her apart. I mean, we've seen others, like Hillary Clinton, also was in a political family, but all the different combinations is, I think, very unique, and that's it. And that's what it takes sometimes. Someone for something that hasn't been done for hundreds of years, and when you're the first person to do it, there aren't any others, because if there were, then they would have already done it before. So it takes someone with an exceptional background and a wide variety of skills and transcending all these things to really do it. And she's really come to pass, and she's still very young. I mean, being the mayor, not even at 40 years old, has a very bright and long political future in front of her, especially if she's able to accomplish some of the things legislatively and the proposals that she's talked about on the campaign trail.
And so now begin the think pieces and speculation about what might be next, but I'm sure she's focused on it right
Don't
now.
look too far ahead. It's not even officially sworn in yet, but yes, that's natural in the media, certainly, for them to do that.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Aaron. And of course, we continue to watch for those ballot counts for the rest of the races we are watching to come in. But again, Mary Sheffield, current City Council President, the projected winner to be the next mayor of the city of Detroit. We'll bring you her speech, her victory speech, as soon as she takes the stage at her watch party.
Yeah, waiting for that. Like we said, we'll make history either way, so stay with us. We will continue having this information for you on our website, cbsdetroit.com, Pluto TV, and also the CBS News app.
For now, thanks for joining.